Hey, what is up guys, Master here, back to do another video, and today I've got two games highlighting two strategies that I have been working on. Now these may not be the best games to demonstrate said strategies, but I'm going to roll with it. My webcam is very overexposed. I'm currently using a different monitor. It's a 1440p monitor, so there won't be any 4K options, but this actually makes editing videos much easier and faster for me in my editing program. It is significantly easier. So I'm going to be Master Kane in this game. Master Kane, one of my favorite factions. Tournament Decision is an excellent map for them as well. You can funnel your opponent's units into narrow choke points and use EMP effectively. It's a map that doesn't rely so heavily on Scorpion tanks. My cat is in here and it is demanding a lot of attention. Cats can be very demanding when they want something. I did feed it, but yeah. The key to playing Master Kane, I reckon, is to not play so aggressively. You don't have the tools to be aggressive like Blackhand and Nod. You don't have flame tanks. So your best bet is to probably just eco up to at least 5 and 2. On a map like this, where the field is a bit larger, it's better to build a third refinery and queue 7 harvesters. In the Knob Mirror, after your second refinery, it's a good idea to pack your MCV and move it a little bit so you can deploy that third refinery a little bit further apart from the other two, just so you don't get double clicked. This is precisely a knob mirror, so the tip I just gave you will apply here. I expect myself to do that. This is just a minor skirmish. Raider Buggy out for my opponent. I'm playing versus Ali Basta in this game. He is a good player. He goes by the former nickname Worker. Green Zero used to call him Worker Ant, which I found pretty hilarious back in the day. But he has definitely come a long way over the years. He is a vintage player at this point. Raider Bucky going in for the scout, and we're going to see soon what my strategy is all about. I have one prepared for this map, and this strategy I'm going to do is very much Technique's strategy on Decision in the Knob Mirror, which I guess has made you guys all the more curious as to what it is. Technique being one of the best Knob Mirror players of all time. This particular tactic is one that really shocked me. It's one of the strategies that I remember the most from Technique when he played back in the day. And I don't think you can hear the faint noise of the fan in the background, but I honestly cannot cast without it on because it is currently 40 degrees. So I really need some ventilation, to say the least. Had a very hot spell here. Scorpion spam, that is to no surprise of you all, because Technique's favorite strategy was that Scorpions, but there's more to it than just Scorpions, of course. My opponent is Vanilla Nod, so he has the better Scorpion tanks. He can go for laser capacitors. Unfortunately, I did queue all my harvesters off the line briefly, rectified that quickly. Spike will be going down for me, so that's a good pickup there. Scout comes in, probably for a catalyst missile, but since I spread my refineries out, the most he'll get is just a 1 ref. If you don't spread them out and they get 2, it's pretty much game over. But this map plays very uniquely for that reason, that tip field is just so large. He tries to get both my refineries with that remade decal that I did, which it actually visualizes precisely the refineries that you can get. So I think I barely saved that one. You've got to be extra vigilant now, because that remade catalyst missile decal is perfect. It will show in the circle the exact radius that it is. It's not buffed in any way, but I guess it is somewhat of a buff since you don't need to be a pro player with experience to know what the real radius of that support power is. The EMP spike radius is a little bit off. I might adjust that in the future if I've got time. Of course, the biggest resource one has in this world is time, and that is something I might be lacking soon in the future. But I'm glad that I put out this 4K mod and R19 and R20, and I believe the state that I have left this patch in is great. I'll probably do a balance update next April, but as far as anything like R20 is concerned in scale and size, that's pretty much it for me in the in the short term. It's necessary for my future. Anyway, I'm building Specter artillery, and this is the strategy: Specters and Scorpion tanks. Why this strat leaf? Well, imagine it's a Scorp versus Scorp fight, and your opponent is attacking your Scorps. You can easily win that fight because mostly Scorpion tanks all bunch up together. With just 1 or 2 Specter shots from the Specters behind, you can win that fight easy mode. You can just build 1 or 2 Specters and have the rest of your army Scorpion tanks, and if your opponent is spamming just Scorps, then that's an easy win for you. So that's what the strategy is, and I'm using it to siege this base, which usually would counter just Scorpion tanks. The Specter artilleries not only counter the Scorpions when used in conjunction with my own Scorpions, but they can be used against the other strategies that you may encounter, like this multi-MCV strategy with obelisks. Scorpion tanks, they get shredded by obelisks, but Specter artillery, that's what they're designed to destroy. More and more obelisks coming down. That's why I'm spamming Scorps behind this, because it's a cheap unit, and in R19 and R20 the Dozer Blade upgrade is more effective, grants even more damage resistance. It's the same as Tiberium was, the same as Kane's Wrath 1.01. It was only changed in 1.02. A lot of things in R20 are similar to patch 1.01. The advanced articulator speed being another shining example of that. Tiberium is always a good support power for you to recycle whenever you can. Raider buggies out. Those are just for recon, so I can use my Specter artillery and hit a target. Now I'm at the Kane, so these Specters are invisible, which is a nice feature of the Specter. It is in its name, but Black Hand, of course, don't get the stealth technology. And this play here was actually quite smart on my part. I'm going for an air tower for Venoms now. This is not an arbitrary choice. This is because I'm looking at my RP composition. I've got Specters, I've got Scorpions. What am I going to die to? I've got the charged particle beams, or I could get that easily. I have everything I need to counter armor. Really, the only way I'm going to lose my Specters is versus Vertigo Bombers. So the Venom transition here was because I'm thinking through my opponent's point of view. I'm thinking, what would I do if I were him in this situation against these Specters and Scorpion tanks? And I guessed maybe there would be some Vertigo Bombers. Moving my MCV forward for this push, and now I'm going to walk you through how to proceed from this position. There's a Redeemer out, and soon to be a Refinery on that expansion field. I'm going for the Venoms. Specters, I'm going to move into position. And since I'm at Kane, I do have those really good Enlightened. In this community patch, Awakened have less duration on their EMPs, so the Enlightened squads are even more effective, because it's 7.5 seconds for their EMP duration, only 4 for the Awakened. Catalyst Missile comes down. Fortunately not on my expansion refs. If that had been my expansion refs, I think that would have been a big issue for me. Nevertheless, we accuse some Enlighten here. I've got these stealth Specters, which he cannot see. 3 avatars right there. And I see they're all bunched up. So I'm going to use the Awakened EMP and look at all of those Specter shots landing between those avatars, requiring just 3 salvos to dispose of all 3, which I thought was a beautiful highlight in this game. Counter Spectre fire incoming, but I got those Venoms I can sweep in, take out those Spectres. Redeemer is a little bit of an issue. I don't have my own epic unit, but with 1 or 2 more Enlightened squads, I can finish off this Redeemer, no problem. So I'm pushing in here. You can see the flamethrower effect on that Redeemer. It also has a bit of distortion as well, emitting from that hard point. That mesh you see on the flamethrower was actually in the game to begin with, but it wasn't shown on the unit. A mistake by EA, because they rushed this game. This was really a first pass. Enlightened is such a cool unit, man. It's more of a support unit. You shouldn't use them as the main bulk of your army, just for support. And I feel like the situation where I'm using Enlightened is best for them. It's a very combined arms force. I've got Spectre, Artillery, I've got the Venoms for air support. I've got them also defend my Enlightened against his Venoms. I have the Scorpion tanks as well, which can also double up as anti-infantry. They can crush a heavy infantry with those dozer blades. But yeah, these Spectres, they did a lot of damage there. I've got the Shadow Team, which is a thing you can combo with Spectres. You can utilize the beacon to long range bombard your enemy. And another change in patch 1.02 plus R20 has to do with the Shadow Team's Spectre bombardment ability. Now the beacon's no longer unstealth after firing. Your opponent will require stealth detection to reveal that beacon, which I think is a substantial buff, one that was much needed. Furthermore, in 1.02 plus, friendly Spectre shots do not destroy the beacon, so if you target anywhere near your beacon, it will not get destroyed by splash damage. That's not the case in vanilla, but these Spectres do huge damage against structures, and since it's cannon damage, this is also effective versus vehicles. If you've got a bunch of juggernauts in the radius of that beacon, then those will get destroyed as well. Shadow Team though will make its way out of there. Beacon goes down. Interesting how it says base under attack when it was just a beacon of mine. Probably will remove that actually. There's probably an EVA alert for base under attack on the beacon itself. I will add that to my list. That's why I enjoy watching my own games, and the 2v2 series as well was a learning experience. That one I casted that you guys saw in my previous video. But yeah, this engagement that's about to happen is going to be pretty badass. I've got the Enlightened and I can combo those with the Raider Buggies to effectively dispose of those units. So here are the Raider Buggies. My Spectres are ranked up. I can use those with the Enlightened. What I require is to just lock down these units, and because of the huge splash damage, I can get multiple targets locked down in one EMP. As you saw there, 3 of the buggies falls. And these Spectres are doing a lot for me. They're bringing in a lot of value. I'm just going to get my Redeemer out and then I'll push. I've got 7 avatars. My opponent does not want to quit this game. Sometimes you get this. But it's good for me to talk about all the changes and how you can close a game out, because a lot of players can throw games. So trying to seal a game is also important as well. It's not enough being ahead, you have to win the game. But yeah, this is going to be a sick combo here where I use the Enlightened. Those Specters are now going to begin opening fire, and look at this chaos and destruction. That army just got deleted off of the map. Three avatars approaching from the south. And yeah, that is it. GG. I thought that was a good game, highlighting the potential that Scorpions and Specters have. And now I want to demonstrate another game, guys, so you're in for a treat. 2 new strategies, and I'm going to demonstrate to you all another one. So stay tuned, because I've got another game coming up. Okay guys, and I am back with game number 2, which brings us to Tournament Crater. I've got another showcase with a nod faction. Once again, it's going to be marked off Kane versus the same opponent. This tactic is going to be versus a Scrin faction. And I don't think it's one that I've ever highlighted before on my channel. But I didn't know he was Scrin because he picked random in this game. Early on, you have to anticipate losing engineers to buzzers. So I'm going to escort both of my engineers with some Awakened. This map is pretty good, had some awesome games back in the day. During the pandemic, me and Space played a fantastic game on this map. I highly recommend you guys check it out if you haven't already. It's Zocom versus Marked of Kane. I think that was Game of the Year in 2020. Almost lost my engineer, unfortunately, but it wouldn't have mattered even with the beacon, him telling me. Maybe he was just trying to camouflage my engineer, make it so I couldn't see the engineer, and then it got killed, but that did not work. It's always good having health bars enabled when you're playing. I know it's very tricky to see things. The visibility is less because of buildings and health bars, but overall it helps you micro your units, and you'll know which ones to pull back when it comes to Scorpion tanks, for instance. 5 and 2 eco for me. Now, since I'm not rushing, this buzzer in my base is not a big deal. I didn't really need to anti-scout it, since I'm not rushing anyways. And since he's already scouted my base, I don't need to immediately go into a buggy to kill it. However, this Gunwalker here, because he's already scouted me, is prompting me to go Scorpions, because there could be a Seeker push on its way. Seeker push is very potent, especially with those repair drones, which are extremely hard to dislodge from your field. I think the ideal timing to counter a Seeker push, if you go for a third refinery, is after your 5th harvester. So after your 5th harvester comes out of the war factory, begin to build Scorpions, and I think then and only then is this easier to stop. Second war factory for good measure, just so I can get some repairs of my own, just so I can offset this repair advantage that he has. I believe repair drones can be killed as well, so maybe in the future I can experiment with Triller turrets by focus firing the ground where those repair drones are. Maybe it will nullify those drones, because the splash damage is huge. So maybe one Triller turret could negate repair on those Seekers. something to try out perhaps in the future. Likewise, a flame tank could achieve the same thing. But yeah, EMP is also a good tool against this Scrin aggression, and I deal with this meta play quite efficiently. Doesn't matter that he didn't kill any of my harvesters, he disrupted my eco, one of my halves was off the line, and now I am just reorienting myself in this game. And you'll soon see the strategy that I am going to showcase. I was afraid of the Synths being at my Tiberium field, so I sent a buggy there just to see, because usually you see the Synths camp the field, even if it's one or two, that can kill a harvester. The Synths are so effective because they force nods to build buggies, which don't have much combat potential for counter-attacking. They kill infantry, but they struggle to do much else besides that. In vanilla, buggies dealt with Seekers very well. They still do in R20, but it's not as one-sided as it once was. But with these Scorpion tanks, you will be easily able to just overrun that force. And here is where the tactic comes in. Much like with GDI and the Firehawks bombing Scrin's tier 3, you can achieve the same with Vertigo bombers, only it takes 5 Vertigos to do the job. And since Vertigos can survive storm columns, it sort of makes it as good as Firehawks. Because Hawks die to storm columns now, which basically requires you to build 5 Firehawks, or get the Stratofighter and hardpoints upgrade. With Vertigos, you just need 5 of them out, and then you can go in and bomb the tech. Now granted, it is trickier with Vertigos to successfully pull this off, because they're slower and they can't jump across the map like the Firehawks can. There has been one suggestion with Firehawks to limit their Stratofighter to scouted areas on the map, but I think that is an extreme change, and since Stratofighter and the Stratofighter has been increased in cost and duration, I don't think it's justified anymore to do that. Hardpoints, despite being a $2,000 upgrade, still is not purchased by anyone, surprisingly. But I see stealth detection on this map, clearly to play around stealth tanks. This is the other unfortunate thing with Vertigos. They get countered by the stealth tank countermeasures that the Scrin player will do. But I drop the tech, storm column comes down, and with those 2 storm columns I unfortunately lose a couple of my Vertigos, but it's still worth it in my opinion. I get the tech center. He did not sell his tech, so he didn't get the $2,000 for that. Seekers in my base for a counter harass. I actually have nothing to deal with that. Harvesters are falling. I have no response. Even promoting in the process, I'm just losing all my harvesters here. Look at this. Shielded Seekers coming in and just wrecking my base. I have just a singular harvester left on that tip field. So economically, I am very bad. And Scrin are known to cause Mock major problems with Seeker spam. He was probably getting the shards upgrade, but I denied that with the tech snipe. I've got the quad turret upgrade, which is an upgrade you can purchase now in this community patch. It doesn't desync the game, hasn't done so for a long time, and the upgrades and defenses have been balanced around that quad turret upgrade itself. One more of my harvesters falls, and now I just need to find a target. I can go and bomb between both structures, and the splash is huge on Vertigos. It's larger than the Firehawks, so I was able to snipe both that refinery and the war factory. I don't pay for it either. So that's a good trade for me. I really need trades like that, considering I lost that many harvesters. Descent flank here for Ali, Seeker as well. Tipperary troopers though excel at killing disintegrators, much better than the Black Hand squads are, mainly due to their range. Trying to recover my harvesters, these vertigos are still doing work. I need a way of landing that vertigo to rearm and refuel, but instead of using my precious build queues on another air tower, I'm just going to build these nod support towers, which are half the cost. You get an awaken now for selling them off as well, but these have the same health as air towers. In vanilla they're very fragile and I wouldn't land vertigos on them, but in this community patch here, not only do they have the same health as the regular air tower, but they spawn also with 3 repair drones, so they are more effective at repairing. They can repair 3 aircraft simultaneously. Nice little advantage of the nod support air tower is the units, the vertigos have a tighter formation when they lift up. But I got them out, 5 vertigos, just looking for a target. This absolute maze of shadow turrets as well is going to be really helpful against Seekers. I wasn't able to cancel the Hex, but if I aim between both the Warp Chasm and the Tech Center, I can get both, and look at that. With just one singular vertigo going down, I was able to snipe that Warp Chasm and Tier 3. That's $8,000. Is it 8? No, that's 4 plus 3. That's $7,000 worth of damage for a singular $1,800 vertigo. I call that a win. I'm going to rebuild 1 extra vertigo just so I have the power once more to bomb a building, but I've got a veterancy rank, so maybe if someone did the math, maybe 1 veteran vertigo and 3 others without veterancy could potentially destroy a structure, such as a refinery. I have not done the math myself, but it is easily done. I'll leave that for you guys in the comments. If veterancy were accounted for, how many vertigos? If I needed just 4 vertigos, what veterancy would be required? That's my question I have to you. Seekers go in, but yeah, with those charged particle beams, shredder turrets are very powerful. My transition now is Enlighten. I'm going to use this Voice of Kane, which now you can build more than 1. You're no longer limited to just the 1 Voice of Kane. Phase gets thrown down immediately. Vertigos will get some refueling there. I'm going to drop this Stealth Tower, which is very cheap for Mark to Kane. They get them at a discount. Those vertigos are going to be good. I'm looking at my army composition, so much like that decision game, I've got all the ground units I need to win on the ground. So what am I going to die to? It's Devastator warships, and without even spotting that dev ship, I already made the choice to go into Venoms so I can kill the dev ships. This synergizes really well with Enlighten because I can EMP the Shard AA defenses that he has built and then sweep in with the Venoms and take out the dev ships. Vertigo's flying in. I look for a target. I can't quite see anything of significant value. I'm thinking about bombing that gravity stabilizer so I can deny further devastators, but I think I can deal with this situation quite nicely with these Venoms. Even if a AA turret were to be built here, I could just throw down the EMP, and he has to decide, what does he build, anti-air or anti-infantry? His drone ship could get EMP'd, his hexapod is EMP'd, AA gets dropped, and now the rest of my forces will be rallied in. And this is another example of how powerful Mott can be with all their units being utilized at once. They are a very powerful late game faction, as Scrin is imperative that you deal major economic damage to them early on. I think Scrin's best bet is a double drone platform with packs and devastators to support. I found that in the past to be a very powerful combination against Kane and Nod. Anyways guys, hope you enjoyed this stream. If you did, if you did, then don't forget to hit the like button. I'd really appreciate that. And I'm going to leave it here, so this is going to be my video for you all to watch this week, and I will see you all in the next video. So this is me, Master Leaf. Peace out.